So when I was a kid, I was told by my mom that I didn't have to excel in class. So long as I got a passing grade, then I'd be fine. But in class, I was surrounded by kids who got told by their moms that if they didn't rise to the top ranks, if they didn't excel, then they pretty much get disowned. Like, I would see my classmates cry at the end of every term because they'd got top 2 instead of top 1. Like, we're in second grade. And so when I got sent into this nature of competition, I just had to learn how to excel. I finished top 4 in an elementary school, and going to high school, we kind of got separated. And in high school, it's a new fucking atmosphere. Like, everyone was so laid back. Everyone just cared about partying, falling in love, making drama, and just enjoying their youth. So because I lost my competition, I also lost my motivation. Because like, I didn't even have to try. And so I focused lesser and lesser on my studies until one day I got a grade that's a little close to failure. And my mom got fucking furious. Like, she was yelling at me and stuff, like telling me that I'm throwing my life away. And maybe this is what my elementary classmates felt back then. And so that had instilled this fear of failure in me. And because I focused lesser and lesser on my studies, I didn't even know how to get back to the state I was back then. Hell, I didn't even know what I was doing back then. And so the majority of my high school was spent hanging by this thread, trying not to fail every single subject. I remember my study technique at that time was reading the book, then putting it on paper, then reading the book, and putting it on paper, reading a book, and just back and forth until I memorize it. It's like the one that David Goggins does. And for the normal student, this is just fucking hell. But I had to do it, because if I didn't, then I would fucking fail and my mom would just yell at me and get fucking furious again. And then the pandemic hit. I lost all my friends, and then my GF doesn't talk to me, and basically I was just left out all alone. Of course, the natural thing to do was to escape to the internet. But even that, I got sick of. So when I look at the stack of schoolworks that's been piling up because of my procrastination, I thought, what if I came for top ranks? Like, this shitty kid who has been procrastinating all the time beat the other kids who would try so hard just to stay at the top. And it's like that, the bear scene where it's like, okay, fuck you, watch this. And so it changed from my mom yelling at me into I would never forgive myself if I failed. I mean, the fear of failure is still there, but there's just a different and stronger motivator, unlike last time. And it worked. Like, I actually sat myself down in order to try and understand the thing. Like, even if I didn't care about the topic, even if I thought it was bullshit, I still sat myself down in order to learn. But that only got me up to a certain point. Like I said, the fear of failure is still there. And so when I was thinking about how and what to improve, I actually noticed that when I was taking exams, I had this great fear in me that I would fail. And when the results would come, I would feel a sense of relief instead of being proud or just being okay with it. And so here's how I worked on that. So first thing is, I had to unlearn the fact that I wouldn't forgive myself if I failed. Because sure, it pushes me to go far, but it actually paralyzes me as well. Because if I want to learn, I have to fail somehow and somewhere down the line. And so I had to realize that I need to let myself fail in order to improve. Like, I had to let go of my mom yelling at me and feeling inadequate when I failed. It's not an easy process. It's like when you're doing push-ups in perfect form. Your usual 20 reps will eventually go down to 7. And honestly, that's a big hit to the ego. And so I realized that the reason why I was afraid of failing in the first place is because of 1, my mom yelling at me and getting fucking furious, and 2 is that I wouldn't forgive myself because I would feel inadequate. And so if I really wanted to learn, then I had to let that go. I have to be okay with the fact that I might fail in doing this. And when I'd fail, I'd feel inadequate. I'd actually have to be okay with being or feeling inadequate. It sounds bullshit, right? Because isn't that just going back to your shitty past? And yeah, they're right. You'll go back to that state again. but it's not like you'll stay there, right? And this is what I haven't realized at that time. What determines if you failed or not is not when you failed the exam. It's what you do after you failed. If you give up, then sure, that makes it a failure. But if you get up and try again, then that just makes it a setback. We're so used to chasing the positive things that we don't realize how much effort we put in to avoid the negative things. Like the single father who has to feed his 2 kids will work 10 times as much harder than the guy who's just wanting to make another 100k. The guy who's just looking to make another 100k doesn't have to lose anything. But the single father knows to himself that if it doesn't work, then his kids will suffer with him. And so it's unfortunate in this case because these negative things are either what pushes us or it's what binds us. These negative things are a part of our life, and it's fine if it happens. We don't have to avoid it. Because the only step that's needed to be done is to never give up after it did. So, I want you to do me a favor. Live.